So hello everybody. I thought we could commemorate the loss of power with the hurricane in Florida with a lit candle in a room without power, just to remind you all what it's like to live without power. Now, for those of you who may not know, my first experience with life without power was when I was 6 years old, when I lived in the formerly advanced Western country of Lebanon during the Civil War, where the neo-Stalinists slash fake leftists united with the radical Islamists against the moderate Muslims and Christians, resulting in the destruction of a first world advanced country. And only a couple of weeks ago did the country of my father and mother regain 24-hour power. And of course, we all know that prosperity always leads to tyranny. And that is what we have in the US. We have people who are used to 24 hours worth of power. So when the power does cut out, they don't know what to do. And I say to my brethren in the US with love, my brothers and sisters, I will celebrate with this little light of mine with you, just to remind you that most of the world lives without power. And let me tell you some stories about living without power. One is you've always got to make sure you have a stockpile of matches and candles. And every room in my family's house over there, because I lived there, as you guys know, for 3 years up until 2012, every room has to have a little UV light, which has its own battery, and all the batteries always need to be charged whenever the power cuts out. They also had a diesel generator, which they would turn on, and which would be so loud that you would think 10 road trains were driving through your kitchen. And you would also have to remember that you couldn't charge any devices whilst using the generator, because you would kill the generator because it wouldn't be able to generate enough electricity. The next thing to note is you always have to have enough diesel to make sure that your generator is ready. You have to make sure that you have battery-powered lighting to the generator so that you can turn it on when the power cuts out, because the power growing up in Lebanon was intermittent. The power outages became regular as I got older, as we got further from the Civil War. And of course, the elitists would get 24-hour power, and then sometimes the hotels would have 24-hour power with generators. Yeah, solar generators, that was getting pretty damn good over there too, which was good. So yeah, solar power was awesome. And what else? We had beautiful Christmases over there and Easters together just under candlelight. And a lot of things are, when sunlight was out, we had to make sure that we got everything we needed to do done in the day, because at night you don't know whether there was going to be power or not. I used to do my washing every day by hand, and if you wanted to have a shower, you would have to make sure there was electricity. And so whenever there was electricity, everyone would rush to go have their shower. And in the mountains, what my uncle would do was actually light a fire underneath the water tower. The little water, the little water, what do you call it? The water tower container that your hot water frickin' thing. I don't know what you call it. Your hot water cylinder, right? So to make it hot, he'd have to light it up. There you go. No running water. So that we could, and I remember when I was 6 that I used to get baths with a kettle. So my mother would get a kettle, boil the water, mix it with the freezing running water or water from the river, and then we'd mix it to get warm water, and then she'd bathe me into it, but we couldn't use too much, so I'd have to soak myself down in the cold, and then she'd wash me down with the thing when I was 6. Yeah, and then they did the same for my brother. And then I don't know how her and my father, had their shower and saved water. Hey. So these were beautiful things that we had to do. I used to wash my clothes by hand for 6 months when I was living in the mountains there in 2004. and then I used to wash them later in the shower back in 2008 to 2012. Sometimes I'd sit in the car. Yeah, when the power would cut out, the whole village would go dark in the mountains, and then everyone would just light candles, and you'd see each house with their little candles start lighting up. Some people would light their statues of Mary. I remember I got so excited once when I saw all the candles at Easter that I set all of the candles on fire because they all had like a little paper thing surrounding them, and I was so excited I lit them all on fire when I was a kid. And then there was just this raging fire over this cross. I think they thought I was blaspheming against them. Yeah, they were beautiful times, really beautiful. You'd be in the middle of a TV show and then it would cut out. You'd have to rush out, get the generator on, and then you'd miss half of the show. A lot of the women would go crazy over the soap operas. They're like, "Oh my God, what happened? What happened in the soap operas?" Yeah. It was. They were great times. Some of the most beautiful times were without power. So that's why I thought I would relive those memories with you right now and my candle. And just remember and celebrate with you those times without power. And so you are not alone. You experienced that when you were in Lebanon. Very cool. I am here with you. So we'd sit around and we'd just sing songs because, the radio would take up too much power, or TV would take up too much power. Or, you could only have one TV on in the house. Every computer had a backup battery, by the way. So I actually bought my cousin a backup truck battery to charge the computer because we needed her to be online when she was helping us in Australia in my company, and she would work from over there. So obviously we needed her on whenever we needed her. You experienced that in Mexico? What other beautiful times? Once the power cut out when I was traveling in between villages in mountains, and then a hyena came after me, and that was one of the scariest experiences of my life because I could see the night sky was flooded with stars. Flooded. I have never seen anything like that. It was about 3 a.m, and it looks like the Earth is floating in space, which is exactly what is happening. But it looked for the first time like what is actually happening. Anyway, so I've got a lot of beautiful memories we can share together, and we'd sing, and the fridge, by the way, because without power, you'd always have to make sure that your fridge was not overstocked with stuff, because without power, a lot of it would go off. So you could only buy enough food for a day or two, right? So these are all the things that I lived with until I came back to Australia only a few years ago. So the fact that they now have full-time power again after 30 years, something to be celebrated. So Americans, you have it very good. Yeah, they were great times. Here is another bot, and let's get rid of her. You do have it very good, Americans, and don't ever forget that, even though you do, because as humans, we forget that. We always forget. One of the best things that ever happened to me was living in a war-ravaged country. It was one of the best things that any Westerner can ever experience. You learn to appreciate even the fact that cars obey laws, right? You learn to appreciate that there are no rabid dogs on the road. I had a dog chase me when I was on the bike, and he grabbed my leg and ripped my pants, right? And not in a good way, right? It was very scary. So you get some shit, man. Anyway, guys, that was all. So remember, America is awesome, and I will keep reminding you, that's what Gabby is here for. Bye-bye at Gabsmacked. Remaining silent is not an option. Love you!